We could certainly call this the first widespread snow for parts of the interior Northeast and down into parts of Pennsylvania and in and around the Great Lakes as we deal with low pressure moving offshore. We've got cold weather ahead, especially as we get into the weekend. I'm looking at Sunday in particular, could be quite chilly indeed. And a very complicated, confusing long range. The models just do not have things figured out very well. We will have all of that and more on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Where is West Babylon, New York, Joe Rayo?
Oh, it's out near the Nassau-Suffolk line, isn't it? Or just east of the Suffolk line, west of the Suffolk.
That is correct.
Yeah, somewhere in that area, Joe.
It's in southwest. It's in southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, and they serve the entire tri-state area with everything you need when it comes to make sure your home is protected, your home or business is landscaped well on the outside, and you are free of snow and ice this winter because Omni is Long Island's largest rock salt source, and they have folks coming up from other places, other states when salt is in shortage. 631-756-1125. Give them a call. They have the best prices anywhere, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Yes, it
da-da,
is.
Da-da. Hey, I've got
Hi.
a light coating of snow on my wooden deck, and this is
very
it.
Nice.
First time this season we had that. Of course, just a few days ago it was 70 degrees, but I guess, Joe, the deck didn't warm up in the aftermath of that 70-degree temperature to allow or to preclude snow to stick there.
No, yeah,
right
there
now.
were a few people that reminded me that there's the annual monthly meeting of the Warm Ground Society a week from today, and of course that's immediately followed by the Association for Sun Angle Revelers. That'll come right afterwards. It's amazing to me the things people get fixated on. Meanwhile, warm ground or no warm ground, it certainly didn't seem to matter in parts of central Pennsylvania. I've been watching the observations there all afternoon. I mean, they had, I don't know what the snow totals are, but I bet you that there are places out there that got every bit of 2 to 3 inches at least, because there were moderate to heavy snows going on in places like Altoona. And a few others, State College. It was going on for a few hours there, so I'm sure they put down a nice little accumulation.
Joe Lopresti says 1.5 inches in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, 24 degrees this morning at 7 a.m. at his house. And
hang on, Joe. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Good.
Oh, well, I was just saying on our chat board, Joe Lopresti said 1.5 inches here in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. It was 24 at 7 a.m. at his house this morning. And here we are now, 12 hours later, more than 12 hours later, 1.5 inches of snow. Now, I don't know where he measured that. I'm thinking that the cold surfaces obviously have accumulation, but the main thoroughfares, the main drags, so to speak, are probably more wet than white at this particular moment in time.
Well, I'm sure the folks in southwestern New York and northwestern Pennsylvania, considering the forecast that they have, are giggling over the prospects that they should only get a couple of inches, because it still does look like we're going to see a major lake effect snow event starting on Thursday and probably lasting right through the weekend from Buffalo southwest to about Erie, Pennsylvania, maybe a little bit either side of that, especially west of Erie. There could be to just east of Cleveland, there could be we're talking a significant snowfall here of it's going to be measured in feet in some places. I was thinking today, Joe, if we'd have done if this would have been the lake, because we and I, I've been talking about how one of these years I want to go, park myself up there in lake effect land with a lawn chair, and just sort of face where the snow is coming from and watch it. But this would have actually been a good. This may be a good one. We could have planned a trip and gone to Jamestown, New York. And you know what's in Jamestown, New York?
Well, yes, your idol, Miss Lucy, is there, right?
Well, the I Love Lucy Museum.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm
But
big on television history, as you know. When I just I actually have been there and went to the cemetery to visit her grave, which is a big deal up there. It's a tourist thing. They got arrows in the cemetery pointing to Lucy's grave this way. you know, but it's pretty cool actually. It really is. If you're into television, especially into old TV, uh, retro TV, it's a must-to place to go. I don't know if you'd want to go to southwestern New York when there's a major lake effect snow going on. But so we've got all of this happening in the Northeast today. It's the middle of November. In a way, we've been saying how this sort of reminded me of what happened 4 years ago with the traffic snarl that developed and practically shut down New York City and surrounding areas because we had a quick 3 to 6 inch snowfall that came in similar circumstances. Cold air, just enough cold air wedging in. But this time around, the wedging seems to have occurred more to the west in Pennsylvania, west of Allentown, west of Scranton, west of Harrisburg. Just I-81 is probably a good line to use. But this is playing out according to plan. It'll be a moderate snowfall at worst as it moves along to the northeast. And then we're going to get into cold air that's going to be with us. And I don't know how I looked at Joe. Sunday is going to be cold. I think Sunday could see temperatures. Many areas they're not getting out of the 30s on Sunday for daytime highs.
I already forgot what I had forecast on Facebook. I did say in one particular section unseasonably cold. Let me just check here. What did I say for the upcoming weekend? For Saturday, I said mainly sunny and unseasonably chilly, a high of 41. This is for the lower Hudson Valley. Actually, Joe, believe it or not, I have becoming brisk, sunny to partly cloudy on Sunday, 42, and then Monday I have the cold day, sunny, unseasonably cold, high, not getting out of the 30s, 39, and then a jump in temperature to 45 for Tuesday of next week. So, if you want to squabble over an inch or excuse me, a degree or two, I agree with you in the sense that it's going to be well below seasonal normals. Hovering within a few degrees of 40, probably. Well, my goodness, 42 Friday, 41 Saturday, 42 Sunday, 39 Monday, 45, jumping up into the mid 40s on Tuesday. But considering that the normal at this time of the year here in the Hudson Valley is about in the afternoon, mid-afternoon high is about 50.
Yeah, I think from
It's
what
going
I
to be
looked
like,
at, today, uh, I think Sunday and Monday, particularly Sunday, where you got a 516 thickness by the end of the day. So, there's a shot of cold air coming down, but we can get into it. There's a couple of odd things going on too. So that could play into this. It could be one of these deals where the temperature, the high of the day, could be left over from the night before or something like that. But we'll uh, we'll investigate and see what's going on. Welcome to everybody on the chat board. I know a number of you live in areas where it is snowing today. I was talking with one of my snow removal guys that I work with, and he was telling me he's in Danbury, Connecticut, and it started to snow there, but the temperature was sitting at about 39 or so. I was actually kind of impressed by some of the temperatures that I saw where it snowed today in central PA. It was snowing hard enough it drove the temperatures down to 30 degrees in a lot of spots.
wow.
So that snow stuck everywhere. I'm pretty sure that it's stuck on roadways and grassy surfaces.
Well, if it got down to 30, yeah, obviously it will do that. But I'm thinking that locally here in the Hudson Valley, we're going to get down to no lower than 32, and then temperatures will start to climb a little bit, and everything is going to change to rain. Certainly by midnight, even in places like in Ulster and Dutchess and northern Orange County. It should be mostly rain or rain mixed with a few pellets of sleet. And whatever falls now is going to be pretty well gone. John, I'm thinking that at least in the lower Hudson Valley, half to maybe three-quarters of an inch of liquid precipitation. So whatever falls in the form of slushy snow pretty well is going to get washed away by daybreak or by later tonight with that kind of precipitation.
Yeah, I've got. I was just looking at some of the obs, so why don't I bring up the map? By the way, welcome to everybody new to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. If you like the Joe and Joe Weather Show, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can get notifications every night because we're on Monday through Thursday at 7:35, Sundays at 11 a.m. And if there's a storm going on, you will see us on a Friday or on a Saturday. So let's go to the hazards map because I got some of the observations that are going on here, and just give me a moment. Just having one of those evenings tonight where my brain
Yes, a
and
frustrating technological night tonight for Mr. Cioffi.
yeah, no, it's just my hands are one step ahead of my brain, and I'm not landing where I'm supposed to. Now, I hope if you're looking at this at home, I know the numbers are. If you're looking at this on your phone, you probably can't see the numbers. If you're looking at this on a big screen, you probably can see the numbers. You should all be able to see the blue area because that's all where the winter weather advisories that are up, and the advisories include two counties in northwest New Jersey, Sussex and Warren County, and I know it was snowing up in Sussex County as of an hour ago. At Andover, doesn't report what kind of weather they're having, but they're 35 with a dew point of 31 and a light north-northeast wind at 5. Meanwhile, at the Kennedy Airport, it's 45 with a dew point of 39 and a north-northeast wind at 10. So it's pretty raw just about everywhere. And those winter weather advisories, as we said, Warren and Sussex County in New Jersey, much of just about all of northeastern, what's considered northeastern Pennsylvania, and also in central PA, south central PA, west of Harrisburg, all sitting in winter weather advisories. Harrisburg right now, and they had some snow mixing in over there earlier tonight, but now it's all rain and 36 there. You had to go west of I-81 to really start to get to the accumulating snow. And I'm looking at some of these temperatures back here. They're in the upper 20s and low 30s still in most areas. Garden Hollow, Pennsylvania, is 29. State College is 32. Joe, they're reporting moderate snow with three-quarters of a mile visibility. So it's still going on there. Clearfield, Lawrence, which is to the northwest of State College, is 3.5 miles in light snow and mist and 30. Just trying to find some. Bradford is 30. They're now 5 miles. They were moderate for about 4 hours there. And Wellsboro Johnston Airport, 1 mile in light snow, 28 up in northern Pennsylvania. And on the other side, let's why don't we take a look at Binghamton. Binghamton right now is 1.25 miles in light snow with a temperature and dew point of 28. We've got Ithaca, light snow at 1 mile, 30 there. Elmira is 32 with a dew point of 30, and they have 3/4 mile in reporting light snow. Wellsville, 1.5 miles. It's mostly near or under 30 throughout much of western New York and going all the way east. Now, Albany right now is at North Adams, Harriman, and West Airport, 3227, light snow there, 1.25 miles. Albany International Airport is 1 mile in light snow. They've got a temperature of 32. So those areas along and just south of I-90, particularly as you go east, it becomes a little more relevant in terms of whether you're going to have snow or you're going to have rain. You're seeing your temperature start to go up a little bit. They've added additional counties in Massachusetts to the winter weather advisory, pushing it further to the east. We also, again, want to note that the winter storm watches, and these are up for starting Thursday for western New York, particularly southwestern New York and into northwest PA, also in north central New York, which includes Watertown. where right now it's not snowing there. And advisories, Joe, go all the way up. They've even pushed the advisories down closer to the coast in Maine, which was not quite to the coast, but almost to the coast. And then we have winter storm warnings up in northern Maine out of this, which of course is not exactly breaking news, but um, that's what they have.
It's interesting that the last day or two, the Climate Prediction Center had been indicating below normal precipitation right throughout much of the east, or at least up and down the eastern seaboard. And now they've kind of flipped and have indicated above normal probabilities for precipitation for the next 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 days. And in fact, they're calling for a slight chance of heavy precipitation from the 23rd through the 25th. That would encompass Thanksgiving, by the way, making it all through the southern United States, at least from Texas on to northern Florida, and then right on straight up the coast to practically the New York metropolitan area. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty confident that it's going to be dry here through Tuesday of next week. I did not take a really hard look at Wednesday and Thursday. Somebody on Facebook yesterday said, "Joe, can you give us an outlook for Thursday next, Thanksgiving Day?" And I said, yes, most definitely by Thursday afternoon, we'll be in the midst of an heat wave. But
Oh, Jesus.
in terms of anything meteorological, I did not commit, at least not just yet.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't look much beyond Tuesday or Wednesday because it will leave you ultimately confused, and we can get to that later. Hold on to that map. We'll bring it back up a little bit later because we'll show it to everybody. You've got share capabilities, but let's just wait till we get to. We'll do the long range in just a little bit. In the meantime, clouds rolling in on the satellite loop and continuing to increase across New England. The clouds go. Trust me, it was a raw, rainy day here in northeast Georgia. My temperature range today was a low of 41 and a high of 47, and it rained for the first time in almost 2.5 months. It actually rained all day, and the most exciting thing I got to do today was drive to the garbage dump to throw out my trash.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the radar is actually fairly loaded with quite a bit of precip now. Some moderate rain showing up on the radar over Long Island and back through central and southern New Jersey. I know there's been reports of there were some reports of some sleet in northeast New Jersey, and then further to the west. There's precip into central PA, but the back edge of that is actually progressing along. It's almost, but not quite to Williamsport, and almost, but not quite to Altoona. And we've got some moderate rains and even some heavier rains down into Maryland and Virginia, and tailing off a little bit in eastern North Carolina. But this thing seems to be moving along. And I'm thinking that during the early morning hours, we're going to see the back edge progress west to east, and perhaps the western edge of the precip will be east of New York City and off the New Jersey coast by say 7 a.m. or so, or 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
And right now at Westchester Airport, 39 degrees and rain, but meantime, not too far north of there, Danbury Municipal Airport in Connecticut, 37 and light snow. And they're also reporting light snow and 32, Joe, at Newburgh in Orange County. So you don't have to go too far to the north and west of where it's raining and where you got above freezing temperatures, get down to near freezing with flaky conditions. I just want to see where Poughkeepsie is at in terms of temperature. I believe, well, Poughkeepsie is actually a degree warmer than Newburgh. They've got 33 with light snow, fog, and mist, 32 at Newburgh. And let me just check out one more place here, checking out Montgomery in Orange County, and they are not available. So there's not a current observation available for Montgomery, but I'm sure based upon what's happening in Poughkeepsie and also in Newburgh, dinner
hour.
They probably have some wet snow as well.
On the radar back across all of the Great Lakes, there's a lot of stuff showing up on the radar. I don't know how much of this is actually reaching the ground. In the darker blue, if it is, I would imagine it's light, but some of this is lake effect too that's happening on the western shores of Lake Michigan, in and around Green Bay, it seems. There's some snow there, also around Chicago. There's some patchy snows in central Michigan, also in and around the Detroit area, northwestern Ohio, and then along the lake shores of along the shores of Lake Erie, just about coming into Cleveland now. So fairly busy here. This is a from the standpoint of storm systems, this is nothing really to write home about. It's just it's fairly ordinary in my view, but it is the first one, and at least certainly for inland areas, not for the coastal areas, but it is the first one that is generally impacting areas in the Northeast. We also see some snow back up into Montana. Otherwise, the rest of the radars are pretty quiet tonight. WPC rainfall forecasts out of all of this is about a half to three quarters of an inch, maybe as much as an inch in southern New Jersey down into Delaware. The amounts go up to a half to three quarters, also up into northeastern New York. So much of this could be mostly snow. So that might that certainly will accumulate there, and also in central and northern New England where we see half to three quarter inch amounts being indicated. Otherwise, not much headed down further to the south. And then just to take a look at this on WPC, so they've got no precip. I'm looking at around the lakes they do, and of course, we go to day 2. Joe, you start to see WPC is forecasting three quarters of an inch to an inch of liquid for between Wednesday, 7 o'clock Wednesday evening to 7 o'clock Thursday evening, along the lake shores in eastern Ohio, northwest PA, southwestern New York, and in north central New York. So this is the beginnings of what could be a major lake effect snow event. On day 3, it's a repeat performance in the same area. This is from Thursday night into Friday night. And then day 4, which is Friday night into Saturday night, just ditto. Still there on day 5, not quite as robust, and still lingering around on day 6. And still on day 7, there's still some areas of snow being indicated. So when you add it all together, there are 2 stripes there of 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 inches of liquid being indicated in that zone from eastern Ohio, northeastern Ohio, to southwestern New York, and then that second zone a little bit less east of Lake Ontario, in and around Watertown, Pulaski, those areas north of Syracuse. This is going to be fun to watch from home, from here.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you to Johnny Quest, who a while ago hit Super Chat and indicated 28, rain and ice here. I hate temperature inversions. Well, so do we all. Renata, by the way, sent her regards and said, hang in there. April will be there before you know it, Johnny. And as far as what you're referring to a few moments ago, Joe, on the Buffalo area forecast discussion, on their long-term section, Thursday night through Tuesday. Now, you don't often see this word in a weather forecast or a weather discussion, but they've got it in the Buffalo statement tonight. Long-term, Thursday night through Tuesday, crippling lake effect snowstorm possible this period. And they once again are making reference to similarities to the storm from 2000 and talking about the possibility of maybe as much as 5 feet of snow. Peak snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour are ready to get set up, they say, Thursday night into Friday. 2 to 3 inches per hour, after hour, after hour, after hour. That'll do it. If you keep that up through Thursday, Friday, and on through the weekend, that could cause a problem, folks, if you're trying to get up into the Buffalo area during the upcoming weekend. So this is what will be the story for the end of the week into the weekend, watching the snow accumulate and pile up in Buffalo and maybe also in and around Watertown. And you mentioned also other places, Joe, like in Ohio along the lakeshore.
East of Cleveland, yeah.
East of Cleveland. So
Erie, PA, maybe.
Erie, PA, and yeah, I I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago I did a voice, an audio, which they're going to add visual or video to, for the total eclipse of the sun that's going to occur in Erie, Pennsylvania, in April of 2024, April the 8th. And one of the things that they had alluded to was, oh, you're going to be up here with us, right, watching the eclipse? And I pointed out to them, I said, well, first of all, the climatology is not all that great. Second, you still can be getting some snow in early April. And three, overall, not a very good place to be if you don't like snow from November through April. Case in point, what's about to happen to Erie and Buffalo and all places east of Cleveland come later this week into the upcoming weekend.
Well, you could, I've been to Erie. You could go to Erie.
Well, I love to go to Erie in July or June or August, but you go there in the wintertime, you stand a very fair chance of A, seeing snow, B, seeing possibly a lot of snow. And by the way, somebody on the chat board mentioned that the Buffalo Bills are expected to play a football game in Buffalo 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon.
Oh,
If they do, play that,
I hope it's on national. I hope I can see it here.
I'd love to see that game. That would be a great game to look at on the national level. I just love watching guys making millions of dollars per year having to play in a snow-filled environment, and believe you me, if they indeed do play on Sunday, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll move the game somewhere else or whatever. Because one of the reasons they play these games is to get 50 and 60 and 70,000 people into a stadium, and I cannot see anybody being able to get into a football stadium, filling a football stadium when you've got 5 feet of snow out there, especially in the park. Should make for interesting tailgate party in parking lot on Sunday.
Oh, I'm sure. Just want to acknowledge Birder Lady and Helen Bertona, both hitting the tip jar tonight. Thank you so much for hitting Super Chat. Most appreciated. What are you drinking, by the way?
Teddy's ginger beer. Not beer, and it's caffeine free. I just tried, Renata bought this. I said, all right, I'll try it. I don't think there's any alcohol in it. If there is, it must be a trace of it. This is not like that, the hard lemonade that does have alcohol, which I don't.
All right. Well, you're not supposed to be. YouTube doesn't want you drinking alcohol on the.
I don't think it is.
No, it's not. It's not alcoholic, so don't worry.
It's not alcoholic. It's no more alcoholic than root beer. Let's put it that way.
Well, you know how algorithms are. They just hear the word and then they go off the deep end.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
so let's talk about Buffalo and Western New York, because I know a few people have messaged me today saying, would you please talk about it? And so sure, because we talked about it last night. We're definitely going to talk about it tonight. So I'm going to bring up a close-up view of what's happening in the upper air. Now, if you've never experienced lake effect or if you've made an attempt to forecast lake effect, unlike trying to forecast snow along the East Coast, in Western New York and in areas surrounding the Great Lakes, it's really just boils down to which way is the wind blowing, what direction is it coming from. And for Buffalo, oddly enough, a situation like this happens when you have a west-southwest or a southwest wind. So you might say, well, if it's a southwest wind, that's usually a warm wind. Not in this particular case, because if you look at the upper air, you see all that blue. That is a very deep trough that is moving. That's literally enveloping all of the eastern part of the United States from Thursday right through Sunday. And if you look at these lines here, these are like isobars. So your winds are going to blow power, especially at this level of the atmosphere. Your winds are going to be blowing parallel to these lines. So you've got what starts out as a westerly wind aloft, and then as we move through the day on Thursday, those winds become more southwest, not just at the 18,000 foot level, but also down at the surface. And then you have this upper trough that's swinging on through. So as each one, and there's several of these, that's what makes this really a very fascinating in a meteorological event, because it's not just one trough that goes through and then they get what they get and it goes out. This is a series of strong shortwave troughs that will come in and move through. The first one approaching on Thursday and going by, another one on Friday, and then a really strong trough, Joe, that drops down Sunday from Lake Superior uh, over into upstate New York. This is why I was saying that I think Sunday could be a very cold day here, with this very deep trough that is dropping into the eastern part of the United States. That ain't shabby here. This is a sharp little powerhouse that's coming down. And the only thing I will say is that it's probably not going to happen. But I did notice today, I looked around on a couple of the models, and the European actually shows a hint of this. There is going to be some kind of low offshore that's going to try to throw back a little bit of moisture Sunday near the coast. It may not succeed, but you know what? Stranger things have happened when you have a trough like this, and I'm just was looking at this saying, if that thing dropped down a little bit further to the west, there could be just a bit more room here for something to clip from offshore. It's a long, long shot, though. I just put it on the table there, and chances are it's not going to happen. But this is why I thought that Sunday would be a really cold day. But all of this with the lake effect. It's just all these winds basically blowing. The wind is blowing the long way across Lake Erie, picking up all that moisture and then dumping it into western New York, and then the same on Lake Ontario, blowing it across the long way into north central New York. There's going to be, I bet you there's going to be with that upper trough, Joe. I bet you there's these upper troughs going by. I bet you we're going to see some low top thunderstorms.
Convection, yeah.
I wouldn't. That's really cold air aloft that's coming down.
And you get some of that, involved in this whole equation, and you will get with the low top convection and the thunder snow, you could very quickly get like 5 and 6 inches of snow in a single hour. adding on to the general 2 to 3 per hour. I mean, that's like the cherry on top of the snow Sunday if you're into that. That's why places like near Watertown, there's that little town Barnes Corners that can get as much as 500 inches of snow in one single season. You say, how is that possible? Yeah, this is how it's possible. This is the kind of scenario that makes it possible. And just to see in an official National Weather Service forecast discussion, crippling snowstorm possible, and this is still a couple of days away. So, if I lived in Buffalo and I did not like snow, why would I be living in Buffalo in the first place? But a really hefty snow, I would already be packing my bags and get out of that area very, very quickly. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking. I got the for Sunday afternoon at the Buffalo. If you're talking about a Buffalo Bills game, now the models are not going to really pick this out too well, but you could actually see this narrow stripe of blue that goes across northeastern Ohio, northwest PA, southwestern New York. It's actually a little bit south of Buffalo on this one. And then you got another stripe that goes across Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. The strength of those upper air features really tell it all. And if you want to look at it from the standpoint of the surface, you start with this wind that's going to be west or west southwest as we move through Friday, and then becomes more southwest as we go into Saturday. I would think that Saturday and Sunday might be the days where they get the most out of this, although Thursday and Friday won't be too shabby either as far as lake effect is concerned.
And William Huber points out on the chat board, he says, don't forget the water temperature. The water is warm. Lake temperature, 55 degrees. And if you blow temperatures, a cold air mass in the 30s across a 55-degree lake, that's not only just going to pick up moisture, but it's also perhaps going to lead to some convection, and that could very well be the case for National Football League. I don't know how akin or attuned they are with weather, possible weather scenarios, but um, they may very well go into conference tomorrow and discuss what they're going to do about the forecast and the possible weather conditions in Buffalo on Sunday. Maybe they'll just throw up their arms and say, "Let them play," or maybe they just may try to move that or postpone it. I don't know, but
I don't
it's
know.
going to be interesting.
I don't know where the stadium is relative to town. It's quite possible that the stadium's in a spot in town where this lake effect is funny. Location is everything, and wind direction is everything. So you could be in one side of town that doesn't get very much, and then on the other side of town they're getting absolutely clobbered. But here I have WPCs. I actually put up the probability of at least 12. And it's not often, Joe, that you see a 80 to 90% probability of at least 12 being indicated by WPC, but they have it there in southwestern New York, and they actually have it sitting in a good chunk of it sitting in Lake Erie, which is bizarre. But they still have every bit of 50 to 60% probability uh, just inland of Lake Erie, going all the way up to Buffalo.
I'm just looking at a map now of Buffalo on Google Maps, and I'm trying to find where the stadium happens to be relative to, let's say, Buffalo Naval Park, Buffalo Transportation, Pierce Arrow Museum, Hotel at the Lafayette, Hotel Regency Buffalo. I'm just trying to find out determine where the football games are played, and see whether or not they are in a position that might get the worst of it or the least of it on Sunday. Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's going to snow one way or another, and it is going to snow significantly. And like I said, I hope that game is televised because I just love watching football teams or football players struggle when they have a field that's just covered in snow.
Yeah, I was watching a Canadian football game on Sunday. It was Winnipeg. I think it was Winnipeg against Manitoba, and it was snowing there. So they were handling it pretty well. Here's the probability. Let's get back to also tonight. This is a probability of at least two. And you see north of I-90 in upstate New York, up into Vermont, New Hampshire, it's pretty much a done deal, 100% probability of at least two. And as we take it up to, let's go to four. Let's see what it shows for four. WPC's got also about 80 to 100% probability in upstate New York, north of I-90, for at least four. This is well north of Albany, by the way, just so you know, but it's probably just north of Utica and on up into the Adirondacks, and also up into northern Maine, a near 100% probability of at least four. Also, in and around, again, this takes us to Friday night, so that's going to include those areas that we talked about with the impact of lake effect from southwestern New York, northwest PA, northeast Ohio, and also in north central New York. And we're seeing also a high probability of lake effect snows going on. I'm going to jump to 8 inches so we could at least see what's happening back around in Michigan on the east shores of Lake Michigan. We have a 40 to 50% probability both in southwest Michigan and in northwest Michigan for at least 8. And on the upper peninsula of Michigan, seeing some high probabilities of at least 8 inches. So it's going to be about once this system gets out of here, Joe. It's really going to be about lake effect because it's all in that northwest flow. We don't really have any other weather systems that are coming eastward, and it's going to be pretty quiet from that standpoint. But the northwest flow is going to work overtime in producing these big snow amounts. I think as we starting Thursday and going right through Sunday.
Yep, yep. It's going to be now. Let's. Can we take a look beyond Sunday now, up
Yeah.
until Thanksgiving of next week? And
Go ahead and get, you had the CPC stuff, so why don't you go ahead and do that? And then I'm going to just confuse everybody with the long range because I was confused by the long range. So you're good to go here. So
All right, hold on for a second while I just pull that up. Bum, bum, bum. CPC and Climate Prediction Center, and I will put up the 6 to 10 day outlook, which is up, and share it with one and all. Got so many windows open here. And there we go. There's the 6 to 10 day outlook taking us from the 21st to the 25th. We have below normal temperatures, not as dramatic, not as tremendously below probability for cold temperatures as we saw a couple of days ago. It actually is beginning to moderate some. You can see above normal in the far west and more of a near normal regime over the central states, but we're still below normal. And as far as precipitation is concerned, this is the thing that is interesting to me. Yesterday, it looked like we were going to be high and dry for a number of days. Now, all of a sudden, they have this entire area. Again, not all that tremendously above normal, 33 to 40% above normal, 40 to 50% here in the southern U.S., except across the central and southern Florida Peninsula, where they're actually even higher, 50 to 60%. But all of this is indicating or suggesting wet conditions for the 6 to 10 days ahead of us. And this is also what I mentioned before in terms of precip, is the fact that from the 23rd through the 24th, or the 23rd through the 25th, for the slight chance of heavy precipitation, taking it all the way up to practically the New York City metropolitan area. This encompasses the days leading up to Thanksgiving, and even Black Friday. So all of a sudden, they have gone from a dry weather regime now to a wet weather regime. And I guess the way to best define why they're doing this is to take a look at some of the model guidance, Joe.
yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to stick with the 12Z run because the 18Z run was so crazy. I just don't, and I don't, and I'll explain in a minute. It just was whatever you see on the 12Z, which is the primary run, was it turned exactly the opposite on the 18Z to the point where I looked at it and I said, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'll show you everybody both just to get an idea of what's happening. So if you think back to last night, if you were with us last night, I talked about the fact that there was going to be there's some signs of some blocking going on in the North Atlantic. The North Atlantic oscillation is going negative and probably going to stay negative. Not by a whole lot, but it's going to be negative. And we do have this the East Pacific oscillation. Pressures in the Northeast Pacific are all very high, and that makes for a negative EPO. That is, as I've said many times, you get two people that get all worked up about blocking. To me, it's really about the East Pacific oscillation. If it's negative, I'll take my chances with everything else because blocking can be very elusive, and it comes and goes, and it can also mess you up if you're a snow lover. You could have there is and it's happened many times where you have too much blocking, in which case I get the snow down here in the south and you don't see a flake or an ice pellet. So this is the setup that we have now. The cold, the East Pacific upper high that's wedged up into the Pacific Northwest. Cold air basically overwhelms much of North America in a case like that. Well, we've got this whole trough here in the east right through the weekend and into early next week. Now that lifts out, okay? And then we've got energy that comes into the west, one system that moves up into the Pacific Northwest, one in the southwest. And they sort of combine together as it drops southward on Thanksgiving Day down into Texas. Meanwhile, you've got a new trough that is swinging through eastern Canada and Labrador. And Joe, remember yesterday where the GFS was taking what looked like taking a strong storm all the way up into New England, and I said, with the NAO going negative, that maybe we'll wind up with a much more a blockier look, and everything would get suppressed more to the south and probably be weaker. Well, I saw the 12Z run, and I thought, I guess somebody who ran the models listened to me, because that's kind of what happened here on that particular run. Just to show you, as we take you through the next several days, let's just get it in order here. So here's our storm tonight, our storm system tonight. That moves out to the northeast. It gets out of the way. You've got the lake effect going on, and we, of course, talked about that. Big cold high in Montana, all that cold air spreading out. And then next week, after Sunday, we get this one last cold shot that comes into the northeast during Sunday during the daytime, and then starts to slowly pull out on Monday. It doesn't pull out very fast, but it does pull out. We'll probably see some moderation. See, I think you're a day too fast with your moderating temperatures. I think. Well, I'm sorry. I think Sunday and Monday will probably both be cold days. Yeah, Tuesday will moderate, and then here comes this system that I guess this is what CPC is looking at. The system comes out of the southwest and lifts up, but look at the big high that the GFS brings down. It's got a 1051 high, Joe, uh, northwest of Lake Superior, spreading east-west. So the low tries to lift up. Part of it stays back in Oklahoma. There's a warm front with a wave off the Carolina coast, and it's got a much flatter look to it. And it actually has cold air bleeding down the eastern seaboard next Friday with snow in New Jersey and Long Island and in Pennsylvania that gradually just dries out. And then another system, the whole system in Oklahoma starts to come around. He takes a low to the west side of the Appalachians and brings rain through much of the east of the Mississippi for Saturday and for Sunday, if you want to believe it, followed by another blast of cold air to come in behind that after that goes by. And by the way, I would point out that one of the problems with the 12Z run is that once again, the GFS is developing some kind of tropical storm in the Caribbean and bringing it up toward the Yucatan Peninsula in the long range. And as you know, whenever the models start doing things in the tropics, we've seen it already happen a couple of times during October and November, and certainly in the last couple of weeks, it's happened. The presence of a tropical system can change the whole profile of what we're looking at in the atmosphere. So none of the other models have it. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's fake, but we'll have to see. Joe, you have an audio problem? Hello? I think I've lost Mr. Rayo. I'm going to mute his audio. Joe, are you there? What the hell happened here? Whoa. Hold on. Can you guys hear me on the chat board?
I was having a little bit of difficulty.
A little?
A little bit. Well, I'm back now. Here I am.
All right. Okay. I was wondering. I could hear the tone going, and I was trying to mute it. All right. Let me make sure. Just talk to me.
Hello. One,
okay.
2, 3, 4. There we go.
Okay. You're not muted. So anyway, bottom line is the GFS loves to make tropical storms, and a lot of times they don't happen. But the model run was could have the presence of a tropical system could certainly impact. And by the way, if you look at the long range on the GFS, at least if you're a winter weather lover, when I looked at this, it carries out in the long range where you have that negative East Pacific oscillation flaring up again Thanksgiving weekend with the ridging up in the northwest and another deep trough in the eastern part of the United States. And then that carries over right into the first days of December. It's a very, very cold look here on the long range, on the long range. Now, I looked at I like to look at all the runs. The 18Z run is completely the opposite. It's got absolutely, it's just different. It's just totally different. In places where the GFS has a trough on the old run, it's got a ridge on the new run. And then it did this, Joe, it did this really ridiculous thing on next Friday for late next week. it merges the northern. It doesn't merge the northern and southern stream like it did on the old run. It keeps them separate, and it just develops this big cutoff low over the Great Lakes on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, and moves it into New England. So I don't even know if that's correct. And on the surface, on the surface, it's got a low in Iowa, another low that forms off the North Carolina coast, and then that winds up developing into a major storm southeast of Cape Cod by the time we get to Friday night. It's got a 9, I don't know what that is, 98, 96, 94, 92, 90, 88, 84, 80. It's like a 970 something low southeast of Cape Cod. Heavy snow in inland New England, heavy rain along the immediate coast. It was just so radically different from what the prior run did. I just decided to discount it and just wait till the 0Z run to see, whether it goes back to what it originally had. So a lot of confusion in the long range. I think it has, if you ask me, which you will, but uh, if you ask me, uh, we've got a super negative East Pacific. The teleconnections with regards to the East Pacific oscillation is so strong and so off the wall that I think it's probably kind of, the models are having a tough time with it. The polar vortex in the stratosphere is splitting in about 5 days, and it's going to stay split for about 5 days. And I think that might be wreaking some model havoc. So we're gonna have a very difficult time sorting out uh, the weather over the next 10 days to 2 weeks, I think.
Well, first of all, let's back up a bit. As far as this upcoming weekend is concerned, the reason why I went for a colder day Monday as opposed to Sunday is that if you recall, we have that huge upper level low sweeping across western and central New York. We're still going to be, as I said, in that southwesterly. It's going to be a very tight southwesterly flow, which is why I also think the winds are going to be picking up on Sunday. So we're going to have southwest winds aloft on Sunday, but a true northwest wind, both surface and aloft on Monday. So I think actually of the 2 days, Monday is going to be colder than Sunday, which is why I went for temperatures not getting out of the 30s on Monday as opposed to Sunday. And then again, as you pointed out, Joe, as we move down through the week, I think everything is pretty much everybody's on the same page until about Wednesday of next week, and then things start to divert or diverge between the models or among the models for Thanksgiving Day into Friday, and it just simply we're talking now like 9 days out, 9 or 10 days out, and so much can happen in that time frame. I think we're just going to have to wait and see how the pieces all come together.
I don't disagree. I think I think the 500, when you look at the whole upper air, and it's so cold, and there's so many, these strong short waves that are coming down in the flow. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the Pacific too, and I think that's going to make the model runs very volatile over the next at least the next 3 or 4 days, if not longer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're absolutely true. And so far as Buffalo, by the way, on Sunday, the Buffalo Bills do not play in Buffalo. I guess it's like the New York Jets or the New York Giants don't play in New York. They play in New Jersey. The Buffalo Bills play at Highmark Stadium at Orchard Park. Now, Orchard Park and Highmark Stadium are situated to the south and southwest of downtown Buffalo. In fact, no, excuse me, southeast of Buffalo. So, the main push of wind off of Lake Erie, reaches into Buffalo, but for Orchard Park and for the football stadium, they're not in the direct path of that southwesterly wind off of the lake. So while Buffalo, as you pointed out, while Buffalo proper, at least right down by the lake or near the lake, may get crippled with 3, 4, 5 feet of snow. It may very well be possible that at the football stadium they may get only a fraction of that because they're not in the direct line, and so that's probably why we haven't heard anything from the NFL and may not hear anything from the NFL about the football game on Sunday. They may just simply say, "Hey, look, a lot of the ticket holders live in Buffalo. It's their problem to get from Buffalo, and go south and east a significant distance." I don't have I don't see. Okay, here we go. 2 miles, 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's about 8 or 9 miles southeast of downtown Buffalo is where the stadium is. But again, they're not in the direct path of the southwest wind off of the Great Lakes, off of Lake Erie. So yeah, they may get some snow on Sunday, and for the football game, but it may not be anything compared to what's going on again in Buffalo proper. So if a lot of ticket holders are from Buffalo, they may not be able to get to the stadium. We may see a stadium considerably, I won't say empty, but only a fraction of the normal capacity of people who would go to a football game on Sunday. And there may be some snow, but certainly nothing compared to the massive snowfall that may hit the city of Buffalo. Because again, as you pointed out, Joe, these are very tricky situations in terms of lake effect. It all depends upon where the ribbon is of heavy snow shower and squall activity that hits any particular area. And the stadium itself, the football stadium itself, may be just outside of that ribbon of heavy duty snow.
By the way, see the whole truth posted on the chat board, and this falls under the category of a lovely backhanded compliment. I love you guys. I don't pay any attention after you get a week out.
Well,
thank you so much. I think.
And he adds here. He says 30 years ago they sure got plenty.
What was 30 years ago? Who got plenty?
I'm trying to see where that comment comes from.
Oh,
I love you guys. I don't understand what that means, because the last comment that See the Whole Truth said was I love you guys, but far out I don't follow you or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, the world we live in. Okay, so what? It's 8:37. We had Johnny Quest hitting Super Chat tonight. We had Birder Lady and Helen Bertona. So I just wanted to thank you again. We've got 77 likes. Joe and I like to get to 100 likes. So if you haven't liked the show, hit the like button because it makes us happy. Okay? Especially after the first hour. So on that note, let us pray, but anyway.
Want to be in the Catholic Church?
Yes, you're gonna
ring the bell.
Right. In nominis Patris. Yes. So tonight's Briller Jeopardy. So we were doing state nicknames yesterday, so we're gonna do state nicknames again today. All right. So if you're ready, Joe, you should be able to get all of these just like that. Are you ready?
I'm set.
All right, and Joe will be monitoring the chat board, and so would I. Everybody can play. So our first state tonight is, it's high in the middle and round on either side. Ohio.
I-O. Yes. Well, let's see. What do we?
Ohio.
Yes.
I always get that. I always think back to I think it was last year on the WPC snow forecast map, because apparently there's this one hill in the entire state of Ohio, in the tallest peak in northern Ohio, and it was actually marked for an area of heavy snow. Just that it was like a dot that was right over that spot. Ohio. There's so many people, Joe, that have coming out with the answer already. So that's Lou Arizio and David and Chuck Cardillo, who's so happy because he got snow up there in the Catskills at 3,000 feet. Um, Steve Lapointe, See the Whole Truth, Adam Lowe, Dennis Cassia, Mark D42, and on it goes. Helen Bertona got it. Debbie Carroll got it. So what is the answer, Mr. Rayo?
It is the Buckeye State.
It is
I don't know.
the Buckeye State.
I mean, what exactly is a Buckeye? Or buck?
Isn't it like a steer or something, like a cattle thing? So a cow-like structure.
Is that a Buckeye right there or whatever? Cost a buck.
Oh yes, okay. The next one tonight is, if you haven't been to this state, you have to go to this state, because in my view, it's paradise. Any state that when you drive in on I-91, the first sign says "Welcome to New Hampshire," and the second sign is "State Liquor Store" with an arrow pointed. It's really, I'm not making this up. You go on 91, you cross this beautiful sign. It's got a big smile on it, I think, and it says, "Welcome to New Hampshire. Live free or die." And then the next sign you see is "State Liquor Store," half a mile with an arrow pointed.
Well, didn't we do New Hampshire last night?
No, we gossiped about New Hampshire, but New Hampshire is paradise.
It's the Granite State.
Yeah, it's the yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the Granite State, Joe. We should have given the chat board a little bit of time. So
no, but a lot of people already got
everybody
it. Everybody
already got it. So let's go to what has now become the People's Republic of the state of Oregon. Oregano. Oregano, yes. Oregon.
I've been to Portland, Oregon. I've been there just 5-6 years ago. It was nice.
Johnny Sachs says the Duck State. Frank Riccio and Adam Lowe. They've already got the right answer. Christinapedia says the Rainy State. Well, that's true, especially along the west coast there. But Frank Riccio and see the whole Frank Riccio and who else? Oh, and Adam Lowe both have it. So is Dennis Cassia, Helen Bertona, Leon Probitsky, Debbie Carroll, Mark DeCara, all getting it right, Joe. The Beaver State.
The Beaver State.
The Beaver State. Next on the list is Miss Fallerite will have to recuse herself from this one. Okay, the great state of Kansas. Kansas.
Toto, I don't believe that we're in Kansas anymore. Excuse me.
Kansas.
There
are two possible answers here, by the way.
Really?
Yep.
They have two nicknames?
Miss Fallerite, you cannot play like this. You have to recuse yourself from this one. Let's see. Leon Probitsky, Adam Lowe, Joe Lopresti, Dennis Cassia, Debbie Carroll, Helen Bertona, all getting one of the answers. Frank Riccio, all getting one of the answers, Joe. Sunflower State, but there's another answer for Kansas.
It's the Dorothy Gale State. I don't know.
Mother Russia says the Wheat State. Oh, Mother Russia says the Wheat State. No, Miss Fallerite, you cannot answer. You are recused. Waving Wheat says see the whole truth. No. Tornado Alley, David Carter. No. Yes, you bad, Miss Fallerite. You very bad tonight. No, the answer, Joe, is the Jayhawk State. The Jayhawker State. Jayhawker.
That's another one I need. I know what a jaywalker is. Remember they used to call that? Somebody would cross in the middle of the block. Don't. He's crossing in the middle of the block. He's a jayhawker.
Don't cross the street in the middle of the block.
But the jayhawk.
Use your eyes to look up. Use your ears to hear. Walk up to the corner where the coast is clear. And wait. Until you see the light turn green. Oh my God, that is so sick.
Oh
Okay,
no.
now the last one is now if you watch Yellowstone, you'll probably get this pretty quickly. Montana, the great state of Montana.
Oh, I know what Montana is.
Well, there are two answers to Montana. It's known as
Well, I know it as the Big Sky State, right?
well, it's the Big Sky State, says Christinapedia, David Carter, Louis Arricchio, and on and on. It's all the same. Actually, a Big Sky country. Big Sky country. But it's also known for something, has one other nickname.
The Chet Huntley State. Chet Huntley had a resort that he built.
Yes.
He had something like 80,000 acres, and he just dreamed. That's all he dreamt about in his final year behind the anchor desk of the Huntley Brinkley Report, just retiring and going out to Montana. I have no idea. I've always known it as the Big Sky State or Big Sky Country.
Well, Adam Lowe got it. The Treasure State.
The Treasure State.
Treasure State. And as a bonus tonight, we are going to do one of the prettiest places in the United States, and everybody should go to the great state of Maine at some point in your life. But what is Maine known as?
The Lobster State.
It could very well be. It's not the Deer State, Johnny Sachs. 5 Diamonds, Christinapedia. Leon Probitsky and Chris Alley have the answer. And the answer is the Pine Tree State.
Yes.
Pine Tree State. And I am now going to go to the glass of wine state because the show is over and it's time for me to get my little glass of wine and go CP buys in a little while. So Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at 7:35 Eastern Time. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Thanks for the super chat hits. Thank you for any new subscribers, which we may have. I'll find out after the show. So welcome aboard. And we're 2 likes shy of 100. So can you make me happy if you haven't hit the like button to take us to 100 likes? It would
Come
be
on,
really
hit
nice.
100. Let's hit 100. One more. One more like.
We're at 99. My board says 98.
Mine says 99.
He says 99. Can somebody
there
hit 100?
Is.
Okay.
103. So
okay,
that's good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So everybody, we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:35. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
Good night.